I know where I be. A whale.
Why?
I love whales.
And I hate all that ugly blue light. I'm a black girl. You can't put blue lights on black girls.
I don't know what your contracts be looking like, but Beyonce, if you don't put on a kufi or something, child, come on.
No, when I get nervous, I tell the truth.
Well, somebody can send your luggage.
Hello, hi, and how are you? I am Dr. Khalid Nas, and this is Referential. Referential is my podcast where we can have some serious conversations about frivolous things. If you're looking for a bit more of an explainer, please just scroll up to the first episode in this feed. It's short, and it'll tell you everything you need to know. In the meantime, let's just get into it. This is episode 2, Critiquing Beyonce. Let's go! Put on your boots because we are going to the rodeo and talking about Beyonce. No, we're not actually going to be talking about her new album, but there is a mention of that. We're talking about Beyonce because two black queer people got into a room, and when that happens, they usually talk about Beyonce. We also just watched the Renaissance movie and walked away with a lot of thoughts. We are talking about Beyonce, the billionaire. We are talking about Beyonce, the corporation. We are talking about the 20-year-long Beyonce project. And we are also talking about Beyonce, the person, and her responsibility to us and our responsibility to her. To have this conversation, I brought on one of my good friends, Antonia Jade King. She is currently undertaking a PhD that is looking into the cultural and historical significance of the Fresh Prince of Bel-Air, certified Beyhive member. She's also a Leo. She wanted to make sure that you knew that. She's also really passionate about the role that popular culture plays in every aspect of our lives. And yeah, it's a good conversation. I hope you enjoy it. All right. I'll catch you back here in a bit. Goodbye. So I got a cat, and it is dealing with a problem for me. But yeah, no, she's
Pick up
very
Alaska, cats with jobs.
good. She's an old lady. She's a 12-year-old cat, So she's been around the block.
She's lived a life. She has
She's
stories.
lived a life. She walks so slowly. Hey kid, come on up.
Does she?
Yeah, she's just right there. Yeah, she walks so slowly. She is very much an old lady. And what's funny is that when she comes up to me when I go to sleep, she likes to start by laying on my chest, and then she'll move away. But she just this angle makes her look like a old British woman whose name is Imelda, And that's fine. I like to think she's a light-skinned woman,
Yeah, you keep saying this. You say
Oh,
that
she's mixed. So here's why. So she's all white, but we discovered
she's
that
very pale.
the skin of her tail is black.
Okay. So you're saying she's mixed up?
I think she's mixed and super light skinned. So she's your people.
Okay, first of all, you're rude for the super light skinned. I don't know if I'd call myself, but you said it now, so that's fine.
let's just move past this hump.
The super was unnecessary, Khalid. Didn't need a superlative. I don't think it did. But I don't know, what food does she eat? What music does she respond to? There needs to be more questions asked.
At the moment, yesterday I was playing the new Color Purple soundtrack, and she seemed to be really into that.
Did she?
I think she's a bit of a Sugar Avery. She's got.
She's an older light-skinned woman then.
Exactly. I'm thinking it's a very second Dance Viv vibe.
Just wants a comfy cardigan and a cup of tea.
The respectability is rough with her, but she means well. She's been out in the marches, but but when she was marching, she was wearing those old leather black shoes.
Right. I get you. She's very, very appearance-based, kind of Cosby-esque, is what you're saying.
Oh my god. Yeah, she is Mrs. Cosby. I forget Felicia Rassad's name. What was her name?
Claire Huxtable.
Claire. Oh yes, Claire Huxtable. She's very Claire.
She's very pretty. She's very pretty. How old is she in cat years if you worked it out?
64 in human years, 12 cat years.
Are you having to feed her the special old lady cat food?
Yes. And I'm like really frustrated today because I got her this special old lady cat food that is a different brand because I don't want to just give her Whiskas. And
Mm,
she's not a big fan of the pate.
It's burned.
I see. She has
So,
something.
so she's just like looking at it for a bit, and then I had to put some treats in it for her to eat some, and then she's like, "All right, I'm
Honestly,
done."
it's absolutely amazing. It's like having a cat suits you, Khalid.
I'm very happy. I'm washing down my sertraline bottles every single day. That's just in the trash now. Um,
Really? Is it
my
just
work-life balance is in hell, but I'm very
that?
happy. So
Okay. No, they do say like any kind of pet, any kind of constant animal interaction is apparently really good for your mental health. So
it is. It's really great. I would highly recommend get a cat or get a pet of any kind. I think. Well, you're moving down to Brighton now, so you have options.
yeah, moving down in late
How are you
January,
feeling?
early February. Are you ready?
I
Are you?
am ready. Are you ready?
Oh my god, I'm so ready not to deal with the underground every day, Khalid. Like you don't understand. Like there's some aspects of London I'm gonna miss and I'm gonna come like back for, but I swear if I never see another underground tube again, I'm gonna be so happy. Like I'm so ready to be by the sea. We're gonna go sea swimming every morning.
Oh
You're
my
gonna
god,
come
you're going
sea
to be like those
swimming with
rough
us.
swimmers, aren't you?
We are gonna be the rough swimmers. Do you know what? I've already joined our Facebook groups for the rough
Oh
swimmers.
no. Oh no.
You're gonna join. What are you talking
No.
about?
I'm not doing that.
Yes, you are.
I am not.
Sure, we'll talk about it later. But yeah, we're gonna get a dog. Not just yet,
Okay. I like
but
a dog. I think you two are a dog couple. That would work.
we are. Liv doesn't think she's a dog person,
She
but
goes out running like 6 times a day. Like
thank you. I'm like, all this activity for what? Like, what is the purpose if there's not a dog? Like,
well, maybe the wars will come and we will need her to like smuggle some stuff in for us. So that is
oh
that
man,
will come in handy.
don't we have this?
You and I are going to be diplomats in the
Yeah,
apocalypse.
yeah,
We
yeah,
know
yeah.
this.
Oh, 100%. No, because I was having this conversation with her the other day, which I think like it's an important conversation for any couple. One runs and one doesn't. What happens
Mm,
if we're ever in an emergency?
mhm.
Because the thing is, she could legitimately get away from danger faster than me. So, like, what would she do? Like, I like to think she'd like Superman carry me away.
You're like plotting out Scooby Doo scenarios. Just like
Because I'm like, she could run away from shit easier than I can run away from shit. So if there
this
was shit
is
to run
true.
away
You need
from,
an
what
action
are you doing?
plan.
It's just like, oh, I wouldn't leave you, but I feel like
I
she
think
would.
she should always have £50 in cash on her for you to get an Uber or a taxi at any time. Just
You know
she'll
what?
throw it at you and you can run. That way. You could keep like
Oh
you could
my
like get
God.
you could get friends to like attack you and then just like save up that 50 and just go shopping.
Oh my gosh.
We might make her an agoraphobe. It'll be fine.
Oh my God. You know she's doing the London Marathon. There's always a marathon.
There's I know she was really excited. I thought she already did it, but then she told
No,
me she didn't.
she's so happy and she's so excited, and I just can't understand the excitement to voluntarily run 26.2 miles. Like I don't understand it. It doesn't sit well with me. She's not running away.
Yeah, but we're on the other side of it. We're on the other side of it with partners who run. That means that when they're doing marathons, I just have a really nice brunch that morning and then I can meet
Mm,
them at the finish line. So it works out for me.
yeah, I've been to Amsterdam
Ooh,
because
that's
she was
true.
running around Amsterdam. I was not running around Amsterdam. I was indulging in various substances and just having a good time. That's what I was doing in Amsterdam. She was running. I was eating.
Well, it's a black thing. If you smell weed and like there's cops around, you're just gonna start running, you know? It was just like an involuntary reaction.
She didn't actually mean to do the mouth thing. She just didn't want to get caught.
Yeah. She is from Croydon. She's been through more than
She's
us.
incredible. She will tell you. Because the thing is with Liv is she's soft as shit, but she doesn't like to admit that she's soft as shit. So occasionally
No.
I'll remind her that she's soft as shit, and then she'll go, "I'm from Croydon, babes," and I'm like, "I know, but you're also a literal golden retriever." Like,
Oh, bless her.
but yeah, we're gonna be in Brighton. We're gonna
It's
be annoying.
exciting.
Oh my gosh, are you ready for how much we're gonna be annoying you, Khaled?
Are you ready for how I'm gonna like cut you off?
Yeah, I feel like we'll get down there and you'll just be like permanently busy.
Well, if you notice, I'm planning a move to an undisclosed location. Uh, so good luck to you finding me. But yeah, no, I think it'll be fine. I think it'll be fine.
I can see it in your head. They're like, okay, you're like, how often are they going to be around? So this is the thing is, you need to get into swimming in the sea, Khalid, because you are the proximity. Like it's there. It's waiting for you. It's saying, come swim in me.
I don't need to. I have a lot of products in my hair.
You know what? The hair thing. I'm not gonna lie to you.
And those little caps, they don't actually make them for black people. So what am I gonna do?
Do you know what they do? So I will fight
No,
you.
they don't.
They
Enough.
do.
Enough. End this line of
They do,
conversation
and
right now.
like there's literally a black woman owned company that make them that will fit long dreads in them. Like you 100% can get your hair in a swimming cap. I'm sorry, 100%. Mm.
I'd like to not support black business. That is the stance I'm taking, I guess.
Okay. Well, I mean, Nike also do them for Afro hair as well. So you know, if you want to keep part of the community, you can also do that. But
Stop giving me options. Anyway, we have gathered here today to have a discussion. So I wanted to like talk to you today specifically because I've been having Beyonce in the brain for a while. And when I started thinking about Beyonce, I tend to just like go to you to have a conversation because I think you have a pointed positionality when it comes to her as like an academic who is currently undertaking work that's specifically looking at black cultural imaginings. Um
this is really helping my Leo spirit, by the way. Just keep saying red.
No, but I was saying because from your PhD, from what I know of it, is
Yeah.
that you are dealing with what I think of as the black mainstream properties, like Fresh Prince of Bel-Air that broke out, and within the figure of Will Smith specifically. And I think there's a lot of interesting cross parallels when it comes to Beyonce. For some reason, people always compare Beyonce to Jay-Z. He's the male version of Beyonce. When really, I think it's Will Smith in terms of the idea of like the perfection and the family. And I was listening to a podcast that was discussing her career, and they came up with this idea of her as a curator or an archivist almost in her work.
Oh.
I started thinking about that. She curates specifically understandings of blackness, American blackness. You know, that is the main theme of her work. So she's almost being a cultural archivist, and that has been something that I've been thinking about while I was watching the Renaissance movie that just came
I
out.
love that. Yeah.
And like I think there's a lot of complex feelings about it. So I
Mhm.
wanted to get your reactions because you watched it as well. So what did you think of the Renaissance? Where are you when it comes to the Beyonce project at the moment?
Wow. Okay. So, like the concert itself, I had to see it twice
You saw it
because
twice.
yeah, because the first time was kind of a blur, and I'm a very emotional person. So I
It's one for the spirit and one for the mind.
100%, particularly if I'm gonna be impartial and
Mhm.
actually like have an opinion on it as a piece of art.
Mhm.
I really like this idea of her as an archivist, and I think it's interesting how people will often note how many credits she has on her songs or concerts as a negative,
Mhm.
as opposed to an amazing positive thing.
Right.
And so, yeah, I think this idea of her as an archivist makes a lot of sense. And actually, based on some of the stuff she says, I think she'd really appreciate that. And particularly what she was trying to do with Renaissance in particular. Lemonade, to some extent, maybe less so.
I think maybe Lemonade with the visuals
Add a little bass in your voice, fella.
more so
Yeah.
than like the actual context of the music.
Yeah. And the gift, maybe too, a little bit. The gift.
Oh, The Gift,
Yeah.
definitely. Like I keep thinking
Yeah.
about, do you remember those book collections that had all of the the stuff that was being referenced in such tremendous
Yeah,
detail in those projects, that
yeah,
to me is outstanding. Like it's outstanding, but it's also like just an outstanding piece of work, just a
yeah,
collection as like
yeah,
as
yeah.
an academic text almost, you know what I mean? Because
Right.
like you could view those as a very intense deep dive into those one topics. And I think it is fair to say that I have mixed feelings about Beyonce. Like, I'm an enjoyer. I feel like actually on that topic, let me ask you, how did you come to Beyonce? How did you find
How did she emerge in my life?
her? Yes.
Uh, so I was always a Beyonce fan from Destiny's Child.
Do you remember the first song you fell in love with?
Bills, Bills, Bills. I think what I knew at that age about Bills, I have no idea. Like it was all like Bills, Dangerously in Love. Like I knew nothing, but I was singing.
It's a
Um,
great song. Shout out to Candy Burris.
100%. And I grew up in like Devon, and so I didn't really have many images or examples of black womanhood around me. So, like that's how I came to her. But interestingly enough, as someone who is such a Beyonce fan now, I would say that was mainly from Lemonade. Like I was a fan, but the way I talk about Beyonce now since Lemonade, I still
Mhm.
remember where I was when Lemonade dropped, and I was sat on a friend's floor, and it dropped at like some ridiculous time. I think I listened to it like 3 times without like blinking or like drinking or going to the loo or anything.
Was that the album or the visual?
Album.
Oh god, so you had like the visual come at you the other time, like afterwards.
Yeah, and it's just interesting that I am such a Beyonce fan now. And yeah, to some extent I always was, but Lemonade did shift something in me.
What is it about it that you think connected with you?
That's a really good question. And you know what? It's one I ask myself because whenever I like really respond to a piece of popular culture, I always try and be like, what's happening here? Like,
Mhm.
popular culture is so important, and I could literally write a thesis, and I am doing on why black popular culture in particular is so important and the complexities it holds. It was this idea, which is a little bit in Renaissance too, as the personal is political.
Mhm.
I really appreciate when someone is so specific in telling their story, and in doing that, it resonates with so many other people. And I think it was so specific. I mean, first of all, like just as a piece of art, it's very well done. The songs,
Yeah.
the visuals are great, but also I think it was very raw. And I've always found like the idea of romantic black love as being revolutionary and beautiful and complicated and nuanced. And I think she just encapsulated so much of that in that body of work.
Do you think so? It was like an identification?
Yeah, yeah.
Mm.
And just it's great storytelling.
Yeah.
Like if I think about how I feel when I listen to Lemonade or watch Lemonade, it's
Mhm.
like I'm listening to a really amazing story that I'm seeing myself in. It's not like Renaissance where I'm listening to great music and I'm dancing. It feels like I am sitting down at story time and I'm just like enraptured. Do you know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
it's that.
Yeah. There's a difference between enjoying something but also connecting with it, feeling the story.
Yeah.
I think I get that with Renaissance, it's specifically the
Mm.
anger. Not Renaissance, excuse me,
Mm.
the Lemonade. It's the
Lemonade,
moments of anger
anger.
that really speak to me, especially now that I've just been so generally allowing myself to be angry, which has been more of a recent thing for me.
Oh, it's such a good emotion, isn't it?
Yeah, usually I resist it. I've like grown
Mm.
up learning to suppress it, and then I've just revisited Lemonade while I was preparing
Mm.
for this discography in general. Really, it's the moments of anger and outrage that I've always realized I've connected with when it
Mm.
comes to her, because I think she just expresses that in a way that feels guttural. It's when I
Yeah.
feel like she's at her most truth. But I'm thinking of now B Day, right? Ring the Alarm, obviously, is like the angry song.
I've been
Doo, that's the alarm. But no, the thing about that is that I remember like that impressing me, but being more impressed than identifying. The thing that connects me with her is more like I'm impressed by what something that she does rather than like I connect with her,
Yeah.
at least not very often. That complicates like the identification for me, you know?
Mm.
I do find there's something really interesting about the way that people are very willing to resist identifying with her. I'm I just reread that recent article that came out. I don't know if you read it, by Angelica Jade Bastian in Vulture.
Oh, yes, I did read that. Yeah.
Did you read it?
Oh, yeah.
I usually enjoy reading Angelica's critique because I think she has like this
Yeah,
very
100%.
sharp wit.
And I love a scathing review. I love a scathing review. Like,
Oh my gosh, yeah. And one that is, she's very pointed. She's very
yeah,
good at calling people out and
yeah,
identifying the weakest point of something. So, and I
yeah.
do think she was making some really interesting interesting
Oh,
and
yeah.
poignant points about she is very apolitical.
Yeah.
These messages of revolution, or like
Yeah.
these messages not about revolution, but like that hint towards it, become declawed.
Mm.
She is a capitalist. All these things I think are very justified critiques. But I didn't like the Uncle Johnny bit. I thought that was a really petty low dig.
It felt very disingenuous because
Yeah, especially about a project that we've had looking at that movie had segments specifically featuring black queer joy. That the message of the movie was black queer joy.
I remember his friends that, were bold enough to be themselves at a time when, it was so much criticism and so much pain attached to it, but they had the guts and the wherewithal to be themselves. So I'm just reminded of that constantly looking at that audience. Some of them remind me of him. This album is the music that he played for them as kids that they were dancing to, and the fact that it's come full circle and she's made this record that appeals to everybody. It's touching. I cry almost every concert. And when I see that picture at the end of the show of me and him being out, I can feel the spirit.
I just felt like it was taking the stance of joy is not radical anymore.
yeah.
What are your reflections on it?
Oh my god, I literally read it the second it dropped.
She broke the world.
Carry on.
Yeah, no, I almost completely agree. I think there are some valid points. I think Beyonce is an ultra capitalist. I mean, like, this is someone who has been rich and famous from the age of what, 15, 16, who has bought like the most expensive house in LA. Like, it's also, I didn't elect her.
Yes.
Not, I enjoy her music.
Mm-hmm.
So, but then there are valid points, because if she is going to deal with themes of revolution and be political in her music, then does she have a responsibility to do that outside? I don't know. That's a very complicated question. What I will say is I completely agree with you on the Uncle Johnny section, because I don't know him. I don't know the relationship he had with his diagnosis. I don't
It's
know
a
how
family story as well,
it's a family story. Like, I don't know the relationship he had with his diagnosis. I don't know if he shared that with the world. I don't know if no one could have envisioned what Beyonce would become. Like, did he want that part of his story documented to so many people? Like, I don't know. I feel like, as someone who has followed Renaissance for a while, I knew. Whether that's something that her and her family wanted to put on film.
And I also think that whether it belonged in that film is
Yeah,
also a
it was
question,
about
because it's not
joy.
exactly. And like, she has discussed the process of him passing away in hospice care
Mm,
and his diagnosis. She has done that
yeah,
before, so
mm,
it didn't feel like an erasure, but the framing of it as erasure, I thought that was a disservice to the points that she
yeah.
was making.
It felt really disingenuous.
Yeah, because she was making a lot of really interesting points,
Yeah.
and that we're picking up on the rising tide of like the justified critique
Mm,
about Beyonce
yeah.
has been over the past couple of years. Because thinking about the Dubai concert and the controversy
Yeah.
that came out
Yeah.
against that,
Yeah, which is very fair critique. Like,
it is.
yeah.
Also, one that I had really complicated feelings about as someone
Mm,
who is from the region. I was like, well, I know there's a lot of queer people in Dubai. I know that
yeah.
for a fact. And I think the critique that should be levied is you're a capitalist that's traveling and doing an exclusive concert, when I just feel like, to me, that is the thing I want to critique. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? There's something disingenuous about the way in which the Middle East specifically continues, or has like a very pointed critique towards it from liberal sort of parties in the West.
Mm,
It feels pointed, and it feels like it's aiming to serve a narrative that is privileging the West. But I think there is space there to say, like, you are promoting an album about queerness. Why did you do it in Dubai? I think we often like go for the reductive take with Beyonce, because a lot of people just like to topple the pedestal, and she is
yeah.
very much placed on a pedestal where the environment doesn't really allow for critique of Beyonce.
No, yeah. And it's interesting, as someone who obviously is a fan, but also I think there's space to critique art and people. And I remember when the gift drop,
Yeah.
people felt, or some people felt, that wasn't handled correctly, and some of the samples she used and some of the things she did was quite appropriative.
Mm,
I I like it as a piece of art. I also think there's space for those critiques, and I feel like
yeah.
It's interesting to me that she put on her Instagram, actually, she put something, and it was about the film, and she was saying that actually she's really pleased with the comments coming through, with people being like, oh, I'm actually not a fan.
Yeah.
But it's interesting to see all the behind the scenes stuff and everything that went into making this big show. I think even Beyonce would say there's like space for critiquing her, but some of it is it's just so reductive, and is stuff that other people wouldn't be criticized for.
Yeah, and then like I think I have a friend of mine, my friend Victor, I was talking to him about Beyonce the other day, and he was like, my favorite thing to do with Beyonce is Bell Hooks' beef with Beyonce.
I think part of our intellectual, academic, critical exercise is how do we free ourselves from those images to claim a different set of imaging. And I apologize, I was going to buy it and bring it, the Time magazine that has Beyonce on the cover, because one could deconstruct for days that first, she's looking kind of like a deer in headlights, and she's wearing the little panty and bra set, that some of us wore like when we were 10 or 12. And I'm thinking, isn't this interesting that she's being supposedly held up as one of the most important people in our nation, in the world, and yet why did they image her? I mean, she's not glam on the cover of Time magazine. What is that cover meant to say about the Black female body?
And like I that slipped my mind, but then I was like, oh my god. And then so I just started like reading all the comments and trying to find the clips of her calling Beyonce a terrorist. I did end up like reading some interesting commentary about that, and I want to get your reaction, because like Bell Hooks, that's Mother, and Mother is
I know, and I was so sad.
How do you feel about Bell Hooks calling Beyonce a terrorist?
I feel really sad. God, I feel really sad. And I'm like, can I have no one on a pedestal? Like, can I have literally no one? Like, there's so many tattoos I want to get, but I'm terrified to get them because
They need to be dead for 100 years before I get a tattoo of a person.
You see what I mean?
And even then, we're not too sure.
Even then, like, I have some tattoos that are references to Maya Angelou, and I feel pretty safe with them, but still I'm scared.
Of all the people that knew her died. But no, I tried to go over her commentary and like really think about, I tried to like pose myself this idea. In what ways is she correct?
Have you found any?
Well, I think because that comment came in response to Beyonce's Time magazine cover from a few years ago, where she was in the bikini, and there was a wave of Twitter commentary that came out about how if you're calling her the most influential person in the world, why is she just another woman being sexualized on the cover as opposed to like how you present men, which is a fair and interesting comment. But Bell Hooks' point was this idea that she ultimately is reinforcing these very patriarchal feminine ideals in her presentation of self.
I think it's fantasy that we can recoup the violating image and use it. I mean, like I used to get so tired of people quoting Audrey, the master's tools will never dismantle the master's house. But that was exactly what she meant, that you are not going to destroy this imperialist, white supremacist, capitalist patriarchy by creating your own version of it. Even if it serves you to make lots and lots of money. Because I really been challenging people to think about, would we be at all interested in Beyonce if she wasn't so rich? Because I don't think you can separate her class power and the wealth from people's fascination with her. That here is a young Black woman who is so incredibly wealthy. And wealthy is what so many young people fantasize, dream about, sexualize, eroticize. And one could argue even more than her body. It's what that body stands for. The body of desire, fulfilled, that is wealth, fame, celebrity, all the things that so many people in our culture are lusting for, wanting. I mean, let's say if Beyonce was a homeless woman who looked the same way, or a poor down and out woman who looked the same way, would people be enchanted by her? Or is it the combination of all of those things that are at the heart of imperialist, white supremacist, capitalist patriarchy? And I've been saying, people of color, we are so invested in white supremacy, it's tragic. Lorraine Hansberry says that it is the only form of extremism that should discredit us in the eyes of our children, that we remain so invested. My concern, though, is that whole idea, again, when we think about containment, that we say, oh, but this person who is doing major harm, let's say, because I see a part of Beyonce that is, in fact, anti-feminist, that is assaulting, that is a terrorist, in the sense of, especially in terms of the impact on young girls. I actually feel like the major assault on feminism in our society has come from visual media.
Which I think is an interesting point. I think it's a point that
Really?
I think it's a point. Let me finish my point. Let me finish my sentence.
I'm just genuinely, I'm just like,
I
okay.
think I just think there's like, I want to shift it a little bit. I wish you made it more of a critique about like the narratives of black excellence around Beyonce. Like when I
Yeah.
shifted like that, I get it. I also, it was during the time when Beyonce started putting the word feminist in her
Oh,
music, and Bell Hooks was critiquing the idea. Well, in what ways are you a feminist? Well, you're a capitalist. You are promoting these ideas of black excellence. I'm like, well, those points, yes, let's talk about
Yeah,
those. But then
let's talk about
something's got obscured when you called her a terror.
told her to like put on her clothes, like
You ended up like just doing this whole shaming thing. So you just like played into this other very toxic line of critique
yeah.
of specifically black women and black femme people.
Mm.
So it was a weird way of enacting the thing that you were critiquing at the same time for me. But at the same time, I don't know how much space I want to take in that conversation, because I think it's great that there are black feminist leaders critiquing the biggest black pop star in the world.
Mm.
I do think it had an impact on Beyonce's subsequent career in terms of the work
Mm.
that she was engaging in, because she did delve a lot deeper into the nuances of black culture. I mean, after that album, that was,
Mm.
what was that for? No, that was post four. That
Yeah,
was like self-titled.
self-titled
Yeah, that like we got Lemonade, we
Lemonade, and then we
got
got the
Black
nice
is King,
yeah.
Renaissance, which were like explorations. To me, that is when Beyonce, the cultural archivist, the cultural curator, really
Mm.
like formed, where now you see her zooming in on these pockets of culture,
Mm.
saying that they are worthy of the mainstream. A very powerful thing to do as someone with such an
Mm.
ability to spotlight people. I think the most revolutionary thing about that film is she bought a bunch of queer femme
Mhm.
black people, put them in the center, and says, this belongs in the mainstream. See, Madonna
Mm.
sang about them like 40 years ago, and then you stop
Mm.
talking about them, but like their impact continues. And now
Mm.
look at them dancing, look at them celebrating, look at the music that they made, and hear
Look at them
me,
having
the
joy
voice.
and yeah.
Yeah, and also like hear me, the voice of the mainstream, singing these hooks that are set to their
Yeah.
beat, saying Miss Honey, you know.
Don't you hear me calling you? Don't you hear me calling you? Don't you hear me calling you, Miss Honey? The bitch knew that I'd be back. She knew that I would not go long, Miss Honey. Miss Honey! Where's the bitch? She's got some nerve. Here I am, I'm feeling scared. Miss Honey! Miss Honey! Miss Honey!
Like, I
Yeah.
think that is tremendous. I do think that also rubs up against the whole apolitical aspect of her, where you're
Mm.
doing these revolutionary things that you do see the gap of the things that she's not doing.
In a way you didn't necessarily when she was making albums like self-titled and Four, is what you're saying.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think it has made that gap now, and even though I've been very firmly in the camp of okay, but I didn't elect her, I do think these arguments have more credibility when you listen to pieces of art like Lemonade and Freedom in particular. Yeah, I think it's really interesting how you kind of like drew a line between Bell Hooks's kind of commentary, which I remember when that came out, that was a moment.
She changed the game with that digital drop, you know.
Carry on.
Oh my gosh, Bell Hooks would hate that song though.
She might not. She might not.
Um, yeah, and I think that's a really interesting line to draw,
Mm.
actually. And I think if you are gonna make more political art, then I think you have to be prepared for these questions to come up more. Even if you don't see it as your responsibility to answer them, there are going to be more questions. What you are not talking about when you do decide to talk on certain issues. And I think Lemonade, it happened less so because she was very much talking about her experiences as a black woman. But with Renaissance, she is starting to like include communities that, to my
And Black
knowledge,
is King.
are part of, and Black is King, right? Exactly. She's starting to shine a light on communities where she isn't necessarily part of them. And I think with then you do get questions of okay, well, why this community and not this other community and this other major
Mm.
horrific thing that is happening to a group of people. Yeah, and I think,
Is it really her responsibility to comment whatever?
in my opinion, no.
But then
In
what
my
is it her responsibility to comment on is like the
Ri-
question.
Right, exactly. And I understand now, I understand, especially with the last 3 bodies of work, why people have these expectations of her. And also, she's been famous since she was 15, right? We are now at a point where the line between celebrity and a kind of fan has become so blurred with
Yeah.
social media in particular and with reality TV and all of these things. And I think fans now feel more entitled to every aspect of a celebrity's life than they perhaps did before. And I feel like that
Yeah.
is something that is changed in, I wanted to say Beyonce's reign then, but I feel like I've been watching too much of The Crown.
On that point, though, then there is that aspect of her where she will give us a documentary behind the scenes, these glimpses.
But
It's
they are
almost like a
glimpses.
scrapbook. They are, exactly. Yeah, but they are glimpses. I don't know what that means in terms of not necessarily the sustainability of her legacy, but her mainstream sort of presence. I don't know whether, but then again, I don't know whether she wants to keep staying in the mainstream anymore. I got the sense of we're entering a new chapter where I'll be doing less for you.
But the people can get hurt too, though.
Yeah, but they ain't gonna die.
Yeah, and I got that with like the bits where she was referencing, obviously, but when she first started going on tour, people were like, oh, she's not dancing so much. And in the film, it really made me laugh where she was like, I'm 40, I don't need to dance for you anymore. Like,
and she's right. Have a seat. Sit on those twins. I would too, bitch. I'll give them 40 more children. Fuck.
oh my gosh, they are so fine. Wow. Anyway, yeah, I feel like she's at a point in her career where, I mean, we can talk about it from a personal point of view where like she feels more free and she feels like she needs to do less for us. But also, she's very well established now. She's just bought the most expensive house in LA. Like, she doesn't need to make money. And
she can do less.
She can do less. And also, not only can she do less, she can do what she wants to now. I don't feel she'd have made Renaissance 20 years ago. Because I don't think she could have.
I don't think she would have done it like 5 years ago.
No.
There's another point that I felt like really interesting watching this film is and reading a lot of the critiques that were coming out about her contemporaneously. You're going back to the 2000s and you're talking about a female pop star in 2000 and whatever.
Yeah.
And so it's a lot about she's too sexy, who does she think she is, cover up black girl, you know, like all that stuff. Nasty, you're so nasty. Nasty girl, put some clothes on, you nasty.
And yeah, she's still getting that. Yeah, no.
And like then that happened again later on when she was doing like self-titled.
Yeah.
And then I find it fascinating the way that now she's still doing that. She's still showing off her body as she should. It's hers. She can do whatever she wants with it. The way the narrative of that shifted now that we are amalgamating with this idea of showcasing black queer femme sexuality, you know what I mean? The critiques have shifted now to celebrating that, but then when she was doing that for black women, specifically the beauty of black women within heterosexual relationships and black heterosexual couples, the critique was Bonnie and Clyde critiques of this is not the way that we should be showing black American couples.
That's so interesting.
The violence of showcasing her body, the narrative shifted.
Yeah, that's interesting because now she's on a stage with like visibly queer people. Then that critique is that yes, and I hadn't thought about it in that way before you said it, but yeah, and I wonder if that's something maybe to do with the over sexualization of the queer community and popular culture in general. The fact that I mean the fact that this community is hypersexualized,
like it's more acceptable.
It's more acceptable. Yeah, it's more acceptable. Like it's just seen as
understood in a way.
Right, exactly. Understood to be more outwardly sexual. And it's interesting how in that space, presumably Beyonce's displays of sexuality aren't necessarily for herself in that space.
Yes, she's the mother of the house.
She's the mother of the house. She's not embracing her sexuality.
You can do it. Release. Repress. Suppress. Regress. Redirect all that anger. Give it to me. Give it to me. Everybody. I'm built for this. I can take it. I can take it.
So it's like it disrupts the space in which like she I don't know, there's something bad about the phrase I'm about to say. I don't like it. But like she's made her body acceptable for the public by
Yeah,
like surrounding herself by queer
yeah.
bodies that she has made the public aware that are acceptable.
Also, it's been interesting to see like how the critiques around how Beyonce presents her body have changed as the kind of ideal in inverted commas body has changed, and what we perceive as being an attractive body, like with the rise of kind of like BBL and
Yeah.
models looking different now, and this kind of, and while she's always been at the forefront of that, I mean, Bootylicious was how many years ago? It's interesting how even though she's been a part of that. I mean, would you call it a movement? She's been a part of the thick movement for
Yeah.
a time. It's interesting how Beyonce's career has kind of been impacted by that, and how the critiques of her have been impacted by that, because I would say she's always pretty consistently presented herself and her sexuality. Would you?
Yeah, no, from day one. I think even going back when we first got a sight at her within Destiny's Child, like I
Yeah,
think sexuality, pleasure
yeah.
has always been like really tied to her identity. And that's been in ways that she's pushed as something that's powerful, but
Mm,
also the ways that has
mm,
been almost used as a weapon against her, unfortunately, the way that it usually is against Black women who
mm,
just exist and acknowledge the fact that they're sexual beings in public. But I do think that like it shifted a bit as you follow the trajectory of her career.
mm,
For me, like the image of Beyonce I have in her debut is me, myself, and I.
mm,
She's been very consistent also in placing herself in the songs within
mm.
partnership, within the
Yeah,
black, almost like the black household, you know?
yeah,
That
yeah.
is with her and Jay-Z. Like, and
Mm.
that's probably because she got married very early on, but
Yeah, like
I
03
think,
Bonnie and Clyde type.
yeah.
Staying with my man.
It's a lot of guys with cash and they like to spend money fast. They just sure about
I'm
that.
chilling with my man. What part don't you understand? Yeah, I'm sure about
I think
that.
you should really go. I heard the party is out of control. Make sure you're sure
I
about
don't care
that.
about no club, cause my man is all I love. Yeah, I'm sure about
Don't let
that.
them blow your high. Go out
You
and
know,
Yeah,
with Destiny's Child,
yeah. Okay,
it's
to you.
that narrative is always there, and it seems like almost it's been a journey of her defining or trying to like define what exactly she understands her place as society to be at that given moment in her career and life. I do think there was a very marked shift where she took her sexuality away from other people. She stopped
Mm,
being the naughty girl and she
yeah,
became partition,
yeah,
where I'm doing this for me first, for your pleasure second.
yeah.
To go back to Bell Hooks, from reading
Mm,
some of the things that she was saying, I think that was some of the things that rubbed up against Bell, because it seems like she saw that reinforcing stereotype of what femininity can be
mm.
and wasn't transformative enough.
Yeah, and I just really, I really dislike this, because I think,
Mm,
first of all, it's her body to do with what the hell she wants, but the idea that she should not display her body or not embrace her femininity because of the patriarchy. I mean, yeah, you said it. It's very hypocritical. And also, I think something interesting is happening as Beyonce obviously gets older, and I think we
mhm,
often don't see women celebrated as being sexual feminine beings into their 40s.
mhm. My God, yes.
And so there's that political aspect of it as well. Like this
Yeah.
idea of like, I mean, lots of actresses have spoken about it. You reach 35 and you stop getting cast as the romantic lead, and you
Mm.
start getting cast as the witch and stuff. And
And
she's out.
J-Lo stopped being played on radio now. I mean, because her music sucks, but that is beside the point.
I was
Now people screaming, what's the deal with you? So. I tell them niggas.
No, when I get nervous, I tell the truth.
Madonna. Let's go with Madonna. Madonna does not get played on pop radio these days. It's very rare
no,
unless she's a feature.
yeah,
Yeah.
100%. And I think that's interesting as well. And the personal is is political, but how you present yourself doesn't have to be a political statement. Like you can just
Yeah, but like,
But I always think, what would Belle have wanted Beyonce to come out and do that? Like in a suit? 'Cause when Janelle did that, it was still hella sexy. Like so, I like.
and people still had a huge issue with that. And when Janelle took off the suit, the same people that were celebrating Janelle Monáe in Lipstick Lover, showcasing their body, showcasing their sexuality, their sapphism, but the same, some of those same people critiquing sort of Beyonce doing that. But then when she's doing it with Jay-Z, like that is weird to me because like they're
Yeah.
enacting the same thing and they have the ability to claim their desires just as much. Why does the context change that? And
Yeah.
there is a reason why the context changes that, and I think there are some valid reasons. But I don't think we're necessarily applying the valid reasons all the time. But I don't know. Maybe we are being a bit too kind to Beyonce here. Let's be a bit mean. Let's talk about capitalism.
Yeah, I mean, I feel
Let's
like
get into it.
let's get into it. I feel like I don't know. This is one of the most valid criticisms of Beyonce. I feel,
Hmm.
but then at the same time, has she ever claimed to not be a capitalist or to be a socialist?
No, she hasn't. But like that doesn't excuse it. then you're just a capitalist.
Sure, no, I hear that. Would it excuse it then if she was slightly less wealthy? Because I feel like the critique of Beyonce as a capitalist, I get it. She is
Hmm.
hyper capitalist. She has so much money, like just an aggressive amount of money, so much money, and I think
Her
that
family will not be poor ever.
I know.
That is, and like, I don't know, saying that, there's something about that that feels really revolutionary, but that, I know that makes me,
Right.
that's like the op in my head. That's like the FBI agent in my, like saying, like, that's a good thing. But like, no, it's actually not, because that should be the case for everyone. No one should have to like worry about anything.
What's better than one black billionaire, Khalid?
No billionaires.
No, what are you saying?
An equal distribution of system of food.
Yeah, I mean, 100%. But like, yes, she is very wealthy, and yes, she is a capitalist. But like, do we criticize other artists who maybe aren't quite as wealthy yet or have not been famous for as long? Do we critique them in the same way? We're not talking about many people like that.
Yeah.
And to some extent, I get it, because with more money comes more capitalism and more of a,
Yeah.
I guess lefties like us would say, more of a responsibility to do something with it. So I
Mhm.
guess there's a reason why the more money you have, the more, like, we do talk about Elon Musk in that way, for example. Like, we do talk
Mhm.
about these people with this vast amount of wealth. So I'm not saying it's not valid. And would I like to see, like, I don't know, Beyonce? But like, see, this is the thing, is I was talking about this. I was like, oh, I wish she wasn't such a capitalist. And someone turned around to me and was like, what would you want her to do with her money?
Give it all away is what I would like, but
Mhm.
that is my thing. If I keep telling myself, and this is probably all a lie, that if I ever win the lottery, I would keep 10 million for myself just for the rest of my life to live
Okay.
off of, and then I would give the rest away to friends and family and like
Okay.
charity. Allegedly, I say that allegedly. That's exactly what I would do. So
Yeah.
donate to my coffee, which is linked in my link tree.
Oh, that was real smooth. Yeah, I think
Thank you.
you're welcome. Yeah, I would like to see her give it away. I would like to see her. I mean, but this is the thing, is like, I'm sure there were some proper well, I mean, I am a proper Beyonce fan, but I'm sure there's like beehives out there who will like know all of the charitable endeavors she's ever done. Like, I know during COVID
Mhm.
she was doing a lot for like Houston and mask wearing and stuff, but she could absolutely be doing more.
And there's when she was touring, she did a charity at every single stop that she was doing. Something I heard to like the black organizations.
Yeah, there's actually a black owned business that I knew of based in Tottenham that she gave a lot of money to.
I find this the way that she's very specific with the charities that she gives money to. That's an aspect of her that I really appreciate and like. That's the thing. Like, I don't know how I would react within that situation, but I don't know if that's actually maybe that's a wasted point. Never mind.
No, I mean, I think I can safely say that, like, should I ever come into $1 billion, I would not be a billionaire for long. Like, I think there were too many things I'd want to do, and so I understand the idea of like that excessive wealth being unethical, but I also think that's a wider problem than Beyonce, and I think that Beyonce is a symptom of capitalism rather than being like its creator or its founder. Like,
Yeah, and I think thinking about Beyonce and Jay-Z as the card as black capitalist is also really useful speaking politically about the way the existence of money within black culture, the importance that is placed.
yeah.
We have been taught that it is what frees us ultimately and what can arm us and what can protect us. And navigating with that, we are forced to really confront how Like, I think what we're doing right now, where we're actually really struggling with maybe not how to critique her, but also how to feel about it, is really useful because there's someone that I'm a fan of their work, but I think they have this big old glaring thing that I need to parse away.
What, too much money?
Yeah, too much money, but also I think the popularization of the narratives within her work of excess and pride in that.
Did you see the money pajamas from the gift?
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. I think like that. I mean, that is a problem.
It is a problem.
The utopia I imagine makes that accessible for everyone. So I feel like that is a net harm culturally when we see those images represented. But like you said, why am I blaming her for that? Dua Lipa's doing that. Ariana Grande is also doing that. We have
Most rap.
every single rapper is doing that.
Yeah.
That is the Nicki Minaj project at the moment. Are we angry at her for being very successful at it?
I think yes.
And like that's okay.
And that is okay, and it is. I was thinking about this, and I was thinking about Beyonce and capitalism, and I was thinking about how I can't remember how old I was, but everyone always used to speak really well of J.K. Rowling because they were like, she could be so much richer than she was. Like, exactly, and I hate her so much. But growing up, it was this whole like, oh, this is how you should handle getting a lot of money. This is someone who's real. This is someone who knows what it's like to struggle. This is why she's giving away so much money. And now there's this other thing which just makes her like an awful, awful person. And there's this other community she's completely shitting on. Like this very vulnerable, beautiful community that is the trans community. And yet everyone was speaking about her really well because she did give away money. She's still wealthy. She's still not as poor as she could be. And so it's this I do think a lot about celebrity and expectations and the prescriptive nature with which we talk about celebrity. Would I like to see Beyonce give away more money? Like, yeah, of course I would. Would I like to see her speak about Palestine? Like, yes, I would. But also I'm aware of the fact that these are my expectations.
Yeah, and also I don't know what she would say about Palestine.
And I don't know if I want to.
And exactly, like I don't think she would have the nuanced take that the public needs to actually confront what's happening with Palestine, also like responsibility. Like, I don't think she would have that. And that's not to denigrate her intelligence. That's not to do any of that. But like, I just don't think that's her bag, you know?
She's been famous since she was 15.
Well, yeah, exactly. I think that's how she knows how to exist.
Right.
To go back to what we're saying, yes, we can be mad at her for being a black capitalist. We can be mad at her for playing around with revolutionary thematics. But then when it comes to speaking and she doesn't do that, I think we can be upset about that.
Yeah, we can.
But also we have to acknowledge that that's it. That ends. She has no responsibility to us. I think the measure of respect we can afford each other as human beings is to allow someone to exist exactly as they want to exist. We can take issue with it, but we cannot try to like push for movement when there isn't. My perspective is, I think, for you to be the idol that is worthy of the idolatry that is often heaped upon her, I hope she will go through that journey to reconcile. But in the meantime, I don't necessarily feel any qualms about enjoying what she does put out, and I don't think people should. To go back, I critique someone on Twitter I read named Ray Sani who was talking about the Angelica Jade Bastian article, and they said, and their point, and they're not Beyonce fan at all, and they were like, well, Beyonce never said she was a revolutionary, so that deconstructs the whole point of the argument, because yes, that's very true. Beyonce has just simply existed. She might have put on a Black Panther looking costume, but she never said she was a revolutionary.
She literally never did. She put on the costume and fools like me were like, wow! Like,
yeah.
I feel like a lot of people aren't mad at Beyonce, they're mad at Beyonce fans.
Leave those beads alone, Beyonce.
Go on.
And they're mad at what we put on her, and they're mad at the fact that we will take an image of her moving in front of a feminist banner and like make it our cover picture on Twitter. And will like try and turn her into a thought leader or a queen, and she's not those things.
I mean, there was earlier this year, last year, a literal TV show about Beyonce fans, which was
we're wild, Khalid. We're wild.
I know, but like I was actually talking to a friend of mine about the TV show we're talking about, is Swarm. I was talking to them about Swarm, and I was saying my issue with that show is that I like enjoyed it. I don't think it should have been a Beyonce like fan. That should have been a Barb. That should have been a Nicki Minaj fan. The way that like you were doing all that.
Taylor Swift fan, because those
right. But like, and my friend's point was that the thing about the Beyhive is that they won't take critique of Beyonce seriously most of the time, because they're like, she's God and you're just like jealous and wrong. And I'm just like, yeah, I think, and that's the thing. Like most of the B fans that I know are academic, black professionals, you know, like that there's, and that, to me, that is the issue because I think Beyonce promotes this idea of black excellence when I am a fan of black laziness, black mediocrity, black, you sit your ass down and watch a TV show, you know? Oh my God, I am team black naps. I am team microwave last night's dinner. I am team cut the lotion bottle in half and like scoop out the rest.
One of my friends actually sprained his shoulder trying to get the last drop of
Oh
cake.
no!
Anyway, I tease him about this and I get him like a
You gotta use a bread knife. That's what you gotta do. You
yeah,
gotta cut it open with a
yeah.
bread
I
knife.
always aim a bottle of cocoa butter every Christmas and birthday now because I just think it's a hilarious story. But I actually think one of the valid critiques about Beyonce that we don't hear that much is this idea of like this work ethic she has.
When I get overwhelmed, I close my eyes and I take myself to my safe space. But honestly, the current is so powerful and so turbulent and the waves are so strong that there's a suffocation. I'm trying to navigate life and I'm treading water and trying to gasp, put a little bit of air into my lungs to keep me afloat, but then time pulls me back into the same routine.
And whilst it's commendable and it is amazing, like I watch her documentary and I'm like
exhausted.
I'm like, rest, rest.
I know, it was really scary. That was terrifying. That joke about how you have as many days of the week as Beyonce, as many hours in a day as Beyonce. I'm just like, yeah, but like Beyonce needs to sit her ass down and like just rest a bit more because not to Carrie Hilson, but like, because I don't want her to get tired. She broke her knee. Why were you rehearsing with your knee broken? Sit down. I'm scared. I want you to make music 50 years from now. I don't want this.
She broke a beautiful knee. And like honestly, and this is the thing, like this is a critique. I mean, I don't know if you'd call it a critique. You work too hard.
No, I think it is.
Yeah, I wouldn't.
It's
Yeah,
justified.
like it is justified. Like this is one thing. I watched her documentary and I'm like, you are hurtling people towards burnout, my love.
Yeah, and you're singing a song about break my soul, but like you're not taking a break.
You're not taking a break. You are not.
This is something I've been going through lately where I've been trying to reconcile the way in which I work. And we've talked about this before because the way I work at nights, I tutor and I work at an inconsistent schedule. Sometimes I will just randomly finish tutoring with like some students before I get some new ones. And like I have this gap where I'm like not doing anything and I feel really guilty and all that stuff. When I'm still able to pay my rent. I'm able to buy myself things I like, buy my food. I'm able to take care of my child cat. I am I'm able to hang out with my friends. I'm able to like all that. I can do that. And I'm very blessed. I am so blessed. I'm so thankful. But I feel really bad about that because I think that I should be working every minute of my consciousness. I feel guilty. My last thought before I go to sleep is guilt about how I feel like I haven't done enough today. That is bad. That is like a bad thing culturally for all of us. Like that is not how we were meant to be. I've been looking at my cat for the past 4 or 5 days and how the bitch is sleeping all the time. She gets up, she eats, and then she goes back to sleep. And I'm like, how can you do that? Don't you want to go to work? Don't you want to like do things?
Anxiety?
Yeah. And like animals don't have anxiety. That's something that we created for ourselves. Work is an invention by the capitalist patriarchal system that we're strapped to this day. And like we're still fighting about a fucking 4-hour work week or whatever. Like a 4-day work week.
4 day. Oh yes, shout out the 4-day work week.
Make it 3.
Make it 1. Make it 1.
I think we need to flip it. We should do the weekends as like the work days and then the rest is a weekend.
I would elect you. Yes.
Thank you. And I think we should just alternate people as like to like have the full day staff of work, and then that way they would kill unemployment.
Wow. Yes.
Elect me.
Elect.
I'll be.
I would elect you. I feel like
Thank
you.
You. I'll be the Suella you want.
Yeah.
Oh, don't worry. I'll get rid of the right people. It'll be mainly people named Ian.
Yeah, but it's interesting how like like this isn't a critique I've heard of Beyonce a lot, and it's one of the things that, like, along with her capitalism, is kind of like most glaringly obvious to me is this idea of like promoting this what goes beyond a work ethic. I mean,
Yeah.
there's a still in Renaissance of her like literally like falling asleep in her hand at work trying to like get directions done.
Yeah, that is like in every single documentary, and it's quite worrying.
I find a lot inspirational about Beyonce. I don't find that inspirational.
Yeah, to me that reads as toxic. The fact that it is someone with such a vaunted position culturally, you know, it feels like she puts that on to like show her seriousness of her craft. As people who think like she's very talented and tremendous, who doesn't need to do that. It just it just sort of it scares me because now I just think about all the people that we grew up with who told us you need to work really really super hard to become an astronaut and you know it's like it's very bad.
Yeah, and that was like a little bit of her on vacation, but I don't know. I find that the most for me. Yeah, that's one of the things I think is most worthy of critique in her like going out, but particularly in relation to the film, rather than the concert or the music or the lyrics or anything like that.
How do you think like Beyonce is gonna move from this point onward?
I predict a country album.
Okay.
Would you want a Beyonce country album?
Yes, but that's because I like singers. I listen to people who sing. Uh, so I like a good vocal. That's just me. I know some of the girls, some of the girls out there like a little oots oots, a little boot boot, and they like those little, whispering trills or whatever the hell the new children are doing. Me personally, I was raised on the divas. I was raised on Aretha. I was raised on Gladys. I was raised on. Those are my mothers. I don't know who's raising these children, but like I hope. I hope that Queen Naja's child is very happy. I hope Summer Walker is having a good day, but I'm not interested.
Okay, what were your thoughts on her opening with ballads then? Did you appreciate it?
I thought that was great. That was honestly like one of my favorite parts. And I know a lot of people rub, but I'm like a ballad girl. Like I love when I was actually just watching a bit of Life Is But a Dream. Is that what it's called?
Yeah.
And there was that bit where I think she was doing 1+1 and she was just like riffing towards the end of it. And then she was like going on. And then she was like, oh, this song's gonna be 7 minutes. And I just like that is my favorite thing. When a woman who can sing is that in front of a live instrument with a mic and just like having fun.
Like on the piano. Like in a song. Yeah.
Yeah, and like literally like one of my favorite bits, I recorded it and like I shared it online right after the Renaissance concert when I got back was when she was doing I'm Going Down and then she like just did that like long gravelly note.
Oh
like,
yeah.
Just gonna zoom in on that one, and that was the price of admission for me. Like that's what I
really
wanted. I love a vocalist. Yeah, like my biggest, like one of my biggest heartbreaks. I'm probably never gonna get to see Celine Dion ever in my life.
Yeah.
Poor thing. And I love Mother Celine.
Yeah.
That's my white mama.
Is it?
No, I'm kidding.
Is it she Jamaican?
She.
Treat her like a lady. Let me now show you, man. Celine. Some of them love to hit and run. Yes. Some of them love to hit and run. Go. What goes around comes around. Go. What goes around comes around. Go. What goes around comes around. Go. Go. Hear this. All the girl put one was a little attention from a man who's strong enough to mention. Kiss and caressing her all night long.
Wagwan. Never forget Jamaican Celine. Yes.
Her and Adele, I thought we'd established.
Not Delianne. Yes, Delianne. I love Delianne. Did you see her picture, her Time magazine, where she had the head wrap on? Oh my god, looking like Coretta Scott King. Like, I love her.
Oh my gosh.
Oh my god.
She really is Icarus. One day she is gonna fly too close to that sun and
I hope like she really goes for it. I need her to get Missy on the next album.
Oh my lord.
I need her like really get into it. Like get in with the girls. Like really give us a Dark Child remix of like some Go on, you can see the vision.
I can.
Like her and Meg Thee Stallion.
Yeah. You know what's scary? I think Adele can probably see the vision as well.
I think, and she wants it. She's just not confident she can. But come on, girl. Like, you're dating a black man. We're letting you in. We're not letting you into the cookout, but like, you can look from across the yard.
Is she dating? Wow. I mean, that makes sense.
She is. She's dating like this black power broker in America.
Oh.
I
She
know.
mixed kids.
Well, they're just dating now. I don't think
okay.
her son is white, but you know, we might be adding to the team.
One of us.
Light bright, light bright, light bright, light bright. Okay, so I know you need to go and watch Strictly, so I'm going to wrap up. But before I do, I would like to ask you a question.
Okay.
It's a very important question. If
okay, I'm scared.
If you could be any animal, what animal would you be?
I'll be well.
Well, answer the question.
I wouldn't be well.
Welcome back to Citations. Okay, some housekeeping. I first of all apologize for the delay to getting this episode out there, but that happened because I was recording at the same time, so now I have a bit of a backlog. Hopefully, that means that I am going to be more consistent moving forward, and I'm really, really excited for you to hear what we have in store. But on that note, because of that backlog, that means that questions are not going to be open for the next few episodes, but don't worry, I'll let you know when they are. In the meantime, why don't you send me a comment about what you've heard so far, or a voice clip? Send them to Khaliden with 3 N's at gmail.com. That is KHALIDENNN at gmail.com. Top recommendations from this episode is for you to listen to the Beyonce series on Pop Pantheon podcast. It is great, and I think it complements some of the conversations that AJ and I have. Also, another high recommend is for you to check out Bell Hooks in conversation with Marcy Blackman, Shola Lynch, and Janet Mock at the Eugene Lang College. They were speaking under a conversation that was presented by Bell under the banner of Are You Still a Slave? Check out the citation page on my website. It will be available on the Sunday after the episode is first posted. It will have everything that we referenced in this conversation, as well as everything that we watched and listened to in preparation. If you like homework, or if you're just looking for some good culture to ingest, check it out. It is on my website at alsopurple.com. That is ALSOPURPLE.com. Those will be up on the Sunday following the release. You can find me at alsopurp on everything. That is ALSOPURP. And you can find Antonia at Antonia Jade King on everything. I will see you back here soon. But in the meantime, please, 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 please leave me a rating, preferably 5 stars. And in the meantime, have you checked out our YouTube page? We've got each episode that you've listened to so far up there in visual format as a video essay done by Victor Alexander. That will be available for this episode a few weeks after the release. Check them out. Victor is very funny. All right. I'll see you back here soon. Goodbye.
To the left, to the left. To the left, to the left.